The first ransomware from a fully agentic hacker has surfaced.
And you're really going to want to look at how you apply your patches based on what we're seeing with this one.
On today's CVE of the week. It's Friday, July 10th, and this is the IT SPARC Cast CVE of the week, where we pick a common vulnerability and exposure entry that you need to know about and how to mitigate ASAP. And today we're not talking about a true CVE, but we are talking about big news. And Lou, why don't you bring us up to speed?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, this came to us through TechTarget and IT Pro, but we have now got confirmation on the first fully agentic ransomware attack. And so researchers at SysDig reported what they believe is the first documented ransomware attack where an AI agent autonomously executed the entire attack chain. And it's been dubbed Jade Puffer. So after a human selected the target and supplied initial access, the AI agent independently harvested credentials, moved laterally, escalated privileges, encrypted a production database, generated a ransom note, and adapted to failures without human intervention. The AI corrected errors in real time, recovering from a failed privilege escalation attempt in 31 seconds by generating a new approach. 31 seconds. So the attack relied on known vulnerabilities. John and I have been talking about this for the past year, that your biggest concern is these known vulnerabilities that are out there that you think don't matter or smaller to patch, or you sort of missed it when you're going over it. There's a pile of these out there and they will get right through it. So, and they, that adaptation to failure within 31 seconds, completely different approach. So it dramatically lowers the skill required to launch sophisticated ransomware campaigns, could enable attackers to run thousands of simultaneous operations. So just as we've seen software as a service, we have absolutely talked about hacking as a service. You're now about to see push button ransomware.
Yeah.
So faster detection and response, credential protection, rapid patching of known vulnerabilities, stronger identity controls rather than new defensive techniques. John, we have been hammering people on going to a zero trust infrastructure. What's your take on this?
Yeah, so this is absolutely something that we've all seen coming, but now it's here.
It's here.
And it's a scary new world that we just entered in that, and this is an evolution of something that's already existed. So the idea of script kiddies have been around for, 40 years, maybe more. And where, a kid gets a copy of a script that helps them hack something, doesn't really know how it works, but is able to get something done. Now we have a push button, like you said, an agent that's going to do this for you, and it's going to do it at scale. So the level of fight that we have to do back as IT professionals means that we have to have something that's scaling at the same rate. So we need AI defense forces that are looking for these, using zero trust and AI to say, okay, this is happening. This doesn't look right. I'm going to do something to mitigate it and alert the right people to make sure that some additional mitigation doesn't need to take place. So that's where we need to get to. And I'm a little worried that we're not getting there fast enough.
John, could you give us an example of a potential CVE that's out there right now?
Yeah, so our second story came from the Hacker News, and it revolves Ubiquiti. Now, 2 weeks ago, we also talked about Ubiquiti, and they had a whole series of CVSS level 10 vulnerabilities that were released, and each one of them was a full ownage of the system, but you add them all together, and it was a complete disaster. But the good news is that if you had auto patching turned on, which we do, it is on by default, then it fixed itself overnight before the announcement actually happened. We have a whole new set of patches and issues that were patched. Ubiquiti released patches for 25 security vulnerabilities, including 7 critical flaws, all ranging from 9.1 to 10.0, and across their entire platform. So that's their Protect series, it's their network series, that's their on-prem security systems, cameras and locks and things like that. It's their video surveillance and so forth. So it's in all of those systems. But you put those together, you could completely not only own a system, but change the physical environment. You could lock doors when there's a fire. You could do all kinds of other bad things. But it was patched. Mine got patched before I knew about this problem.
Yeah.
And we're watching for this stuff, right? But before I even could find out about it, I was already protected. So I don't even want to go through all the details on what the issues were. We'll have links in the show notes. The point to this conversation is that you can no longer wait for testing before you apply patches, especially in your most critical environments, but probably in almost all your environments. And I would like to hear from you if you think there are areas that are less vulnerable that shouldn't necessarily have to be patched as quickly. I'm skeptical. I think that every piece of your environment, network, servers, storage, everything has a potential to leak out somewhere else and cause massive damage. So I'm of the mind that you have to auto patch. You have to patch as fast as possible. Lou has been saying that we need to get to continuous patching, and I agree with that. And most systems aren't prepared for that. So there's going to need to be a re-architecture of these systems so that they can auto patch. But that has to happen because at the rate of speed which these agents can now take a vulnerability and act on it, it's faster than the human can even hear about the news, let alone do something about it.
Can I put this really bluntly?
Do it.
You are going to, your policies today are very likely set up around minimum user impact, right? Your C-suite is telling you to do this. Your users will complain at you if something goes down. You must change that.
Yeah.
The cost of a breach is far higher than an annoyed CEO.
Yeah.
Far higher. You have got to get rid of that mindset.
You need to drive that message upwards so that the CIO and the CEO are aware that that is the new policy. They have to buy off on that. And if they don't buy off on that and they say, don't do this, keep that in writing, because when you get breached, and you will get breached, you can then have it in writing saying, I told you so. So don't fire me.
And I think every security person worth their salt right now has a hard copy file of all these decisions.
100%,
this popped up
100%.
on the next discussion recently, but you have got to do it because you're going to be the fall person for this.
Right.
They're going to come after you and say you didn't do all that you could. You must maintain a trail because it is going to make users uncomfortable. But until we get those automated AI-based systems that are proven to be able to mitigate these challenges that quickly, once again, why are we seeing these ubiquity releases? The last one we talked about came with a federal government admonition. You had to upgrade your systems within 3 days. No ifs, and buts. It's because people are turning off the auto update. You cannot do that.
Yeah.
In fact, if you 100%. Could pull that time in, you need to do it because the fast as possible, because you don't have a choice anymore.
Yeah.
We are vulnerable. Yeah. We've got to deal with it.
And before we wrap up this episode, I did want to give you some listener feedback. And Blake sent in an email saying, regarding our last week's episode where we talked about AI agents getting infected via poisoned MCP links. And his take was, I just don't run agents. I refuse. I'm not going to do it. I'd rather lose out on the gains in performance and productivity, and I'd rather be safe. And I get where he's coming from on this. It's a tough line to walk. Based on what we just said, security has to be paramount. There's also a competitive factor here where we also say that, AI is not going to take your job, but somebody using AI will. That's also true for companies. Companies
Absolutely.
that are properly using AI as an augmentation to their workforce, as opposed to a replacement of their workforce, will excel. So I think there's a balance that we have to find here. I'm not sure I even fully have that in my head today of what that balance needs to be. I think it's probably different for every company, but we have to trust but verify. We need to be able to put systems in place, but put the controls in place that protect us so that the bad things don't happen. So that's my take on it. Lou, you got any other thoughts on that?
No, I mean, you're absolutely correct. It is,
Yeah.
we are in a pivot point right now, and we're in the spot where the AI tools to attack have become very good. But right
Yeah.
now, we have not yet developed the defenses yet. So
Right.
it falls upon us to be extra, extra careful right now.
100%. Well, that is going to cover this episode. We could do this podcast with listeners like you and Blake. We would love to hear what you think. Do you have another topic you want us to cover? Do you think that we're wrong about some of this? Are we being too aggressive with our patch strategy? Are we being too lenient in our willingness to allow agents to have some level of access? Send email to feedback@itsparkcast.com. Hit us up on X at @ITSparkcast. If you're watching on YouTube, you can leave a comment down below. We do read every comment, every bit of feedback we get. We respond to most, and if it's particularly interesting or insightful, we will read it out on the broadcast. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. That way you will never miss a single episode. And we will be back next week with more insights from the world of enterprise IT and security. Until then, take care.
Be careful out there and patch as fast as you can.